It looks passable?
Yeah.
SEMA would like it?
Yeah.
That's not as easy as I thought it would be. So that's plan B. If all else fails, you're gonna see this car at SEMA one way or another. It's not a video until I film Isaiah using at least one of these 3 machines. We have got so much going on at once. These 2 guys are lifesavers right now, and we're about to double the squad. My brother and Seth are coming out. Stuff's just gonna go crazy. Because of that, every day is gonna make it almost 2 days, 3 days, because everybody's doing stuff all at once. Even Carl is coming out, and he's gonna help give some guidance on what needs to be done. I have tons of new things to show you. Just looking around, you can tell I spoil Isaiah. We'll get into the stuff that just makes his life heavenly. I stress him out though at the same time. This one's more for me. This is a tile stainless exhaust housing, but it's a 1.0. This will make the fastest 1,000 horsepower 4-rotor you've probably ever seen. Even the guys from New Zealand are like, oh, you're absolutely nuts for using this. That's exciting for me. We also have the machined stainless ring. We're gonna do some fun stuff with this maybe after SEMA. That's our 5-inch or so, 4-inch, 5-inch downpipe starting from right there. Isaiah, I have to do the limbo to do this? Okay, Isaiah, do you want to introduce? Let's just jump right in. You're gonna have to speak up loud for this one because it's the GoPro.
So let's start with these, because these are the fun. Yep. Well, you get to see the assembly.
I've seen them, but not open.
Enjoy. It's a big boy.
It is a girthy boy. That is one of the Vibrance clamps. That really gives you some flexibility when it comes to your intercooler tubing.
It doesn't move that much when you put the O-rings in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But still, that's... Yeah. Oh, and this is better than...
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Open it all the way up.
Okay, so my favorite word out of all of these pieces, this piece is called a ferrule. And it's spelled F-E-R-R-U-L-E. Ferrule. like Ja Rule's like lesser known brother. And so it's just, for some reason that word just sticks with me. Green.
I've never thought of...
Yeah. I saw the word and then was told feral, and I'm thinking like feral, like wild animal. So I was spelling it different. So you put those O-rings on there, and then this piece slides in between them, and that's probably the most painful part of any of these types of clamps. These are a little bit easier than the ones I've used in the past. And then this has a lip on both sides that locks it in. Spend a little bit of time doing this, but then just as easy as that came in.
Put the rubber on.
You've never suggested that before. Let's both put a rubber on. Just to be safe. You put a rubber on. No, we don't touch. No, we don't touch. No, we don't touch. There, you stay over on your side, I'll do mine. I learned about this in like 4th grade, how to put this on.
I didn't pass that class.
It wasn't even a class to pass.
In Michigan, probably. In LA, it's a normal thing now. I knew how to do sex ed before I knew how to do tax. But like, good thing I have a weld table.
Yeah, this table sucks for that. Well, that's one of the tricks, though, is to spit on it on one side and then use oil on the other side, because otherwise both of them start slipping and sliding. Okay, all right, I'm out. So you go ahead and install it from there.
So obviously you have you can see it's at an angle, which is fine, because this has that lip like you were saying. So you put that in there. You put that in there, put the pin in for me.
Okay, it's got a little ball in the end. No, it has 2.
Oh, it has 2 balls?
Yeah, it's got 2 balls.
Same.
2 balls on the shaft.
Same. Yeah, that won't come out. Was it like 800 PSI or something?
Oh, yeah. We looked it up because we were wondering how much boost we could run through these. They have a burst rate of 800 PSI. Absolutely obnoxiously high. We've got... He's just tearing right into it. We've got these little guys.
The same as air?
Oh, this clearly looks a little bit different color than aluminum. That's because it is titanium. We are doing some crazy things with titanium. Very excited that Vibrant makes all of these parts. These are inventory parts for them. Yes. So here's the reason for 4-inch. Well, this is the smaller reason. Right there. Here's where this matters even more. I'm doing 104 mil or 102, 106, 100 and something mil intake, and that is, 25 millimeters is 1 inch, 100 is 4 inches. And you can see that right there. Obviously, sharp eyes will notice this is titanium, that's aluminum, that's not gonna work together, and that's why we have different metals. We're gonna mix the aluminum one, graft together the Holley throttle body, and then mix it in with titanium.
Oh, okay. I was like,
yeah, I pointed out that you can't weld that.
Yeah,
it'd be like this.
Physically impossible.
Not with that attitude. This is probably one of the go-to guaranteed pieces. Racing Beat, RB right there. This is a relatively inexpensive piece. I think this is like, what, 60 bucks?
I think they're $6.99 or something like that.
For me, at least, it's under $100 a piece. And what you see is there's two rotors. That's the way to think of it. I might ask Isaiah, just for aesthetics, because it's driven me nuts for years, to maybe weld a piece onto this so it's all 4 in a row. It really doesn't solve that much other than just my motions.
In the shape of a heart or what?
Yeah. One of the things that are really nice about this from Isaiah's standpoint, this is not a Rob thing, this is an Isaiah thing, is this extra lip right there.
Yes.
That is, he's been obsessed about that. I've been trying to keep him happy, and that is actually...
You've been more happy than any woman in my life so far.
Likewise. We'll have to deal with these emotions off camera. This lip makes it easier for him to weld, and this is 304, not 303 steel, stainless steel. For somebody that's as particular about these things as Isaiah is, I want to give the man 304, and better yet, 321. Let's take a look at these. We talked about them briefly, but I think some of the bigger things... Do you want to talk about them?
I'm gonna have to pop you, bro. I'm giving away my secrets.
Okay, yeah, I won't give away the secrets.
So most people, they get the pipe bends. That's what everybody makes their headers out of. So what I like to get is tubing. So I mean, you have longer pieces right here. You actually have a radius. This is actually 1.125, so wall. So it's not a thin wall bend as everybody normally, when they see this, they think. Nobody ever uses this.
People message me saying, oh, you guys are using thin wall for the 4-rotor. And that is not the case. That's pretty damn thick.
Another reason for using this is, so you order pipe as schedule 10, which is the same thickness pretty much. You order pipe as 1.5" to get 2 inch, but it's not 2 inches, 1.9 inches. So this is actual true 2 inch. And when you're trying to make horsepower like we are, every little bit counts.
Isaiah is talking about one of the most basic things that I struggle with, is that there's a distinct difference between pipe and tube. And you hear me saying that in videos. I'll be like, pipe, tube. Tube is measured from the outside diameter, pipe is measured from the inside. Some tricks that people will do is try and measure or get something that has a certain inside to cheat it and get the larger outside or whatever. That's tricks of the trade that I'm not even completely familiar with, but we're using something that maximizes sizes. This is the beginning of the end for SEMA. This is the moment prepping for the good engine to go into the good chassis with all the other great parts and continue fabricating all the amazing pieces and then getting a running vehicle. This is going to be stupidly insane. This is probably one of the biggest, most aggressive things I've ever tried taking on. The Corvette was such the perfect test for this. We're gonna be mind-bending. We're not gonna know what way is up. It's you know what? The result is so worth it. It makes for a good story at the end of the day. If we pull that forward. Okay, then I'm gonna bring this down first. There. Okay. We can take this off. Oh, I gotta put that. Don't do it from the center of the engine. Do it from the because those are actual good irons. Guess I'll take the rear drive shaft out. Take this out. We can put a jack under the transmission, but the transmission's curved on the bottom, so it's gonna rock. It's not gonna be very useful. So there is a spot maybe at the very back of it, but we can't take the center with the trans, so this has to come off now. Look at right here.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ. Down. It's not light at all. Has to come off anyway, right? We are taking all of the drivetrain off. This is the dummy drivetrain, basically for the last time. I took off the parts I know we're gonna have to remove, the transfer case, adapters, and so on, but the way we've got this set up now, we're gonna have to drop the trans and the engine all at once, well, including kind of the subframe that is in place at the moment. We're gonna learn and we're gonna improve on that as we go. It's still fascinating that we can kind of treat this like a race engine.
A race car, right?
It's not a race car. Officer, this is a passenger vehicle. The engine and the trans are held in with the 2 trans mounts and then the 4 engine mounts all connected to the oil pan. Getting close, right?
Oh, we're about there. Look, model.
That's basically how that whole drivetrain comes out. Oh wait, Hercules, you gotta do that again.
Oh,
do it again. Whoa! You need to lay off the steroids. He claims it's really light. Oh my god, that is. Wow. It's funny because that would make it rear weight biased, but that's because all the rear is still in. Oh, it's front. Got the strong guy here and under. Oh yeah. I'm like thinking it's on the jack stand. You're holding it up. Okay. Looking almost clear. It looks like a manta ray or something. Like a sea ray or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There, we got it.
That's a motion in his face.
Oh my god.
Can you give me a tear? Right now. Do it. Cry.
That looks like some sort of Star Wars sled. Oh, yep.
You crazy.
There's a lot of nothing here when we take the engine out.
You know, temperatures and rising, and you know, there's like a cold front. And
Sounds like you're making excuses.
pressure, inspiration.
You had a sore throat. It's cold outside.
Yeah, I was tired. You saw how I did it. I would put it on, but you see the way my bank account's set up. I gotta transfer my savings to my checkings to my PayPal, and the bolts just didn't arrive in time.
Oh damn, dude. I feel you. Everybody could probably feel you.
Honestly, I think if someone was to pull it in this way,
You know what would help? If we get an F in the chat. It's an F in the chat.
F in the chat.
Yeah, boys. Let's wrap it up. I'm gonna say duct tape. Just wrap it over each of those. So we've always had a plan B if we couldn't get the good motor running, and we're about to show you that right here. I know this is pretty experimental, but since I've always been pushing this car, I figured why not take it up a couple notches.
Really low center of gravity, honestly.
With the engine out, Isaiah was finishing the welds that he couldn't reach with the engine in, and I'm working on getting it ready. This is probably one of the most stressful spots of my life because this has to be hub-centric and there's no ring to tie the two together. There's no hub-centric ring on this to mark it to the center of this. That matters a lot because this is, you know, kind of the whole center of the spinny thing. I tapped this hole off camera because I didn't want to mess that up, and I was gonna blame Isaiah. I didn't want footage of me doing it. Once I got that one in, I measured like 15 times and then made sure it fit to the center of the ring. Fortunately, from the backside, it's really easy to tell. Tighten this down, punched the center of this hole. That's where we're at. And then after all that, we have a hydraulic bearing installed in the billet bell housing. Isaiah's just saved my ass. I was getting a little too aggressive, and I snapped half of the tip of the tap. I tipped the tap in the top of that. He added weld inside of a steel bell housing to a steel piece. That's the most important part.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I knew what I'd done.
If it was aluminum, that would have been easy.
Yeah.
But I have to make sure that I don't fuse the tap with the bell housing.
Yeah. Wow.
Look, you can see.
Yeah, let me zoom in. Wow.
That was nervous.
Yeah. Super happy with how this is turning out, but it is a little bit slower than I want it. The bearing turned out really nice and centric to here. Very happy with that after Isaiah fixed up those threads. And I've got a pilot hole for putting a hole, of course, into my beautiful billet steel piece. There's one for bleeding it. That's the top of the bell housing. And then there's going to be another over here for feeding it. Here's the moment I don't turn back. My little hole saw, it's 3/4 inch, so that way the tip of this can pass in and out. Top and side. That's my first time I've ever putting a hydraulic bearing into a custom situation. This looks adequate. I was hoping to get this a little bit further up. This is angled forward, and I don't want that hitting the back of the clutch. So that was a little concerning. Both of them do that. They angle out. This one is just longer, so it's easier to sweep out. That one's the top, so it has a cool little valve on the very top of it. That'll sit like near the actual hydraulic unit, so we can bleed this thing. This end will then go to the master cylinder, well, the clutch master cylinder, and make magic from there. I can put all these bolts in, put that to that adapter right there, and then have the whole transmission ready for insertion. I took this piece off of the dummy transmission once for the last time, and it's being mated to the bell housing. I'm making sure that everything is centric for the clutch over there, while Isaiah works on the weld table's cylinder. He wants to look like a robot, and so that thing spins things while he can continue welding. With this all buttoned up, the engine almost all ready to go, the transmission is all done. I went and swapped it over to the manual transmission, which it already is, but the actual pull lever works. I routed both the air tube and the gear selection indicator through the actual adapter. It's finally time to put the transmission and engine together. I'm gonna put the bell housing onto the back of this and then pick all of this up and then set it on that dolly. I have to do this because the legs of the engine hoist are actually too tall to get under these wheels. Past the first legs, uncover the baby. It's finally time to unbolt this oil pan from the engine stand. And it is off. Come on. That was the last time that was sitting on that stand without it being in that car. We need to take off the engine mounts on this one then. We'll get another little dolly ready for it. It's definitely gonna crush these fittings. So I'm gonna take this and mate it to the engine. I'm gonna go ahead and take these temporary engine mounts off and clean them up because they're clearly full of metal debris. I think for the moment I'm just gonna take this engine and tilt it up. Yeah, these engine mounts are not making this easy. Okay. As soon as I put those engine mounts on, it's gonna get wedged between these legs, so I can't put them on yet. This has to be like that. Something like that, because we're gonna try and put the transmission on, but it's gotta be between those oil lines. Make sure it's sturdy enough. Let's pull this back so I have more room. It's a little spacer that we'll have to deal with later. Put one of the back ones in. It's unfortunate the chassis bends in this spot. Makes the engine mount look weird. Oh no, 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 no. That's not good. Oh, come on. We have to recut these holes. Okay, we're gonna clearance these because they didn't match up from the template pieces to these, so we're just gonna move these over a little bit. 2/3 of the way. I guess I'll just hit the rest from the backside. Oh, that worked pretty well. I dig this when it's used right. I've never used these right, ever. I'm gonna put this transmission onto the engine with the correct clutch, with the input shaft, with the shifter, and see if we have a complete setup. And we'll have this dolly behind here. Unfortunately, that's not the exact height. That'd be a bonus. Kind of want to make it the exact height, or at least close. I left the alignment tool in there, so it's just sticking out. That's a good sign. Right in the way. So here we go. Made it closer. Now I gotta make it through the discs. You know what's funny? I'm actually gonna have to downshift this. So I can move this and get a chance at lining up. Okay, there. Hopefully it doesn't sit on the discs and warp their position. Come on, little guy. Oh God, yes, please, keep going. Fuck. You were so close. It feels like it's starting to line up. I do not want these crushing a disc, but it does feel like it's actually going in without even trying. After a little bit of struggling, I was able to get the transmission closer, and I think it's an adapter issue. There was some galling on the inside, and it was where this gets hub-centric to this. I think there's just some spacing. So a little alarmed by that, but that's not the end of the world. Shift it into gear, into neutral, and of course, with the clutch working, can't spin any of them. I have this little guy ready to move towards its final home. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this is by far not the most optimal situation for this. Due to all of the issues, I want just this one thing to work. Otherwise, SEMA's probably a no-go. This issue could really screw up the whole drivetrain. And I haven't had much time to test it because I didn't have a clutch. So we have everything all together. This is a spare, well, reverse mount pedal, and I'm gonna fill it with fluid. And then we're gonna hope that this transmission, which is in gear, it goes out of gear, or at least feels like the clutch is in. Right now the clutch has the engine locked to the transmission, fully paid for. I just forgot to be fiscally smart, and so I have 2 sets of brake pedals. Oh, that sounds promising. Yes.
All right, do press and hold.
Go ahead and spin the transmission.
So, what gear am I supposed to be in?
No clue at the moment.
But we're in gear.
Yeah, okay. Go for it.
All right.
Well, things have not gone the way I was hoping. This is kind of a cool moment, although it's not, because it's a couple hours before SEMA. You can literally count the days into hours now. And as much fun as diagnosing this stuff is, not right now. The master cylinder isn't big enough to push the clutch in all the way, or something to that effect. We're gonna diagnose it by using the larger master cylinder that was in the car to begin with. I'm gonna try and twist the transmission by hand. As soon as I feel that, we'll know that we're good. Otherwise, we've got something wrong with the position of the clutch, and so on. If this car makes it to SEMA, it's because of this moment right here. If it doesn't make it to SEMA, or if it doesn't run by SEMA, it's also because of this moment right here. That's the input shaft of the transmission, and because that bell housing is so custom, and this is also technically custom, and everything else is custom, this hits the E shaft inside of the four-rotor. As soon as the bell housing gets tightened in, this gets pushed back into the transmission, freezing the transmission up so the clutch doesn't even work. I guess the transmission only spins with the engine, almost like a pilot bearing seizing. So I have a custom E shaft, custom bell housing, custom transmission, custom clutch. All of those are playing into something kind of fun. So this is one of the harder moments. Worst timing, but let's see what happens.